Thank you so much, Riya. Good morning, everyone, industry colleagues, tech innovators, and I would say digital native organizations. My name is Sunny Kapoor. I'm working as a director in technology consulting practice of Ernst& Young. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizers for putting together this fantastic event and providing me an opportunity to moderate the panel session on such a trending topic, Gen AI, how it can revolutionize the user experiences across different industries. I extend a warm welcome to our eminent speakers for joining us today, and we look forward to your valuable insights, experiences, and expertise into this session, sir. Innovation in Gen AI has certainly taken a fast pace in India in 2024. As most of us have already experienced that organizations are progressing into the Gen AI subject, from the demonstration to rolling out the POCs for real world problems, as well as now thinking about how we can scale these Gen AI applications to have more impact among the industries. EY India has conducted an in-depth Gen AI survey across almost 200 C-suite executives in India. These CXOs has represented from different sectors, be it pharma, be it health, be it government, and so on and so forth. What EY India has discovered through this Gen AI survey is that 3 out of 5 respondents have agreed and expressed that Gen AI is going to make a huge impact in their organization, to their business. And to a large extent, 75% of these CXOs has expressed that user experience customer user experience is one of the prominent aspects which the Gen AI is going to make an impact, and therefore we are here together to have a discussion around that. Certainly, Gen AI has a superpower to personalize the user experiences while creating unique, customized contents based on the real-time data inputs that the users are providing to the engine, as well as ensuring how these data can be realistic based on their preferences and user behavior. But as we know that with all these tech innovations, there is the other side to it as well, which is again happening with Gen AI, where we have certain arising concerns related to data privacy, Gen AI hallucinations, biased responses, cyber security, etc. We look forward to gaining thoughtful perspective from our digital leaders in understanding their perspective, how to revolutionize Gen AI for user experiences, while ensuring how the data privacy concerns or the fairness or building a user trust can be committed and ensured in AI-driven interactions. So we'll start with Mr. Rohit Sood, who is Advisory Data AI Specialist, Technology, Indian South Asia, IBM. Yeah. IBM has been at the forefront of AI innovation, sir. How do you see generative AI evolving the traditional data architectures, data infrastructures, and what advancement do you see AI infrastructure should be made in the existing AI infrastructure so that this can be helpful for leveraging the Gen AI for user experiences?
Sure, Sunny. First of all, thank you so much for letting me part of this esteemed panel. I'll just give you an example of what we have done from an IBM standpoint in terms of a technology. I think we have done about 1,000+ pilots across the globe, and when it comes to India as a territory, I think we have done close to about thousands of briefings plus 70 specific pilots. And out of the 70 pilots, I think we have gone 25 into production from a Gen AI standpoint. Now, I think what learning we have got is 3 key areas of a learning. One is a multi-model or a multi-modality. Not a single foundation model is going to solve each and every problem. So I think the whole fundamental is if you're going to throw a smaller problem to a bigger model, it will not be cost effective from a deployment standpoint. So we need to have a multi-model, varieties of smaller models. IBM has their own models in terms of a Granite, if you can go and do Google. Or we also do open source models with our friends in terms of Google, Llama, Facebook, and all of these are giving those open source model where we bring these into the platform and deploy it. That is a multi-model approach, but then there's a multi-modality coming up with image models coming up. And I think Amit also talked about voice interacting in terms of how do you want to interact from a voice perspective. So that is one key truth. It has to be a multi-model or a multi-modality capability, right? The second one is, I think, the hybrid capability. I think most of the organization, when it comes to healthcare, government, and BFSIs, and specifically some key industries, they're going to be very particular on the data security and the data sensitivity piece. I think giving a capability to do an hybrid approach, bring your model behind your firewalls, I think that is one of the key areas which most of the customers have come and asked us whether you can deploy a foundation model behind my firewall so that I don't worry about data being going out or data being used, my data, enterprise data being used for training those models. And the third important piece, I think governance. Responsible AI, governance and ethics is going to be an important piece of, I'm just giving a quote from an example with a customer meeting which I had. He says, we do about 20,000+ interactions on a chatbot daily. And that is a general average piece. On a peak, it goes about 1 lakh transactions on a chatbot, right? How do you ensure each of the transaction is aligned to an organization, policies, compliance, and all of these, right? So I asked him, how do you do it today? He says, we actually download those interactions, put them into an Excel, and get a human in loop to go and verify these interactions, whether it is hallucinating or not doing, which typically, you know, for the time being, 20,000 may be possible practically, but when you go and extend it, scale it, getting those checks and balances done is going to be an important task. And governance layer is going to be an important thing which runs across 3-1, which is your risks, compliances, and your AI lifecycle model, right? How you are able to track who has given a request for creating a use case, what data sets went into it, who approved it, which data scientist went and approved this use case. All of these as a workflow gets tracked from an AI end-to-end foundation model standpoint or a traditional model, and it gives you a capability, right? So these three are the, I'll say, examples of how you can go and overcome these three challenges and go and deploy these use cases into production.
All right, sir. Thank you. Thanks for your input, sir. One more connecting question, sir. Since AI has been coming in the forefront in effective decision making, you have already talked about the AI models, right? If we are talking about these huge, large interactions, because if we talk about user experiences, communication, we have to, these systems has to interact with n number of users.
Correct.
20,000 interactions a day is still is a very large number. What kind of, I would say, processes and the skill set that is required within an organization like yours to ensure that all these standards, compliances, and regulations met on?
Yeah. So I think everybody is aware of European AI rules. I think just about a couple of months back, RBI gave a guideline to all the banks is saying if any of your model is gonna go and do something from a user standpoint, it needs to follow these 1, 2, 3 steps process, right? And soon we would be looking India coming out with their AI regulations as well, right? Now, again, a human in loop is a consideration, but I think my colleague just before that is talking about automation, how you can bring in automations to take care of all of these workflows in terms of ensuring that these are aligned to your risk compliances, and transparency is saying someone comes and audit and saying why did you rejected a loan or why did you pass in this response. It should be able to trace back to the data which helped to deliver that response, and it gives you a seamless capability on a single glass of pane, right? So those are the solutions which we can go look at bringing onto the table, and that's where end-to-end governance becomes an important piece of it.
Got it, sir. Thank you. Thanks so much for sharing your insights. Moving on to our next panelist, Mr. Karan Agarwal, who is the Chief Technology Officer at DeHaat. So DeHaat platform is being operating across 12 Indian agrarian states. And what I have tried to understand from your website, that you have an extensive network of 11,000 plus DeHaat centers, serving around more than 500 FPOs and serving to around 2 million farmers on a routine basis, sir. We would like to understand from the agri-tech perspective that how do you see generative AI revolutionizing the way the farmers, the stakeholders are interacting to your platform, and what role can AI play from a predictive advisory perspective, if we talk about?
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenges in the rural geography, which is highly ignored, especially in the Indian ecosystem, is localization. You know, there's a lot of behind any AI models, behind you want to build anything around machine learning, you want to train certain models. The core of all of this is a knowledge base behind which you're sitting. So I think the first thing that even before we get to the problem of building intelligence is creating knowledge base. The knowledge base, the data behind that intelligence is quite scattered today. So one of the major focus for our organization is to figure out and invest in being able to collect this data, label this data, and create a knowledge base out of it. The next set of intelligence lies in localization. Today, if you look at any farmer behavior, the intelligence that a farmer is privy to is mostly very local. You know, a typical farmer would know what to, you know, which medicine to use for the plant, for the crop, you know, given there is a specific kind of insect. They would only understand it from the village knowledge or what has been told to them by the ancestors. But that may not be completely optimized either from a climate point of view or from a productivity point of view. So I think that needs to change, and that change will only happen when there is a knowledge base using which these models can be trained, they can be augmented in real time, providing just-in-time advisory to the farmers, and that is going to be a game changer. There's a lot of opportunity in rural from a commerce point of view. In fact, there is no single source of truth of data that how much commerce can be enabled at a farmer level. Beyond advisory, there's a lot of financing that can happen at a farmer level. Our global banks, our typical banks, they don't even know how to evaluate a farmer in terms of what that farmer's credit capacity is. Creating that intelligence even for the markets is very important so that they can come and augment certain businesses, certain predictability for these farmers.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Karan sir, for your perspective. I think the entire country is close to farmers and all. And it is happy to learn that we have tech-enabled platforms who are serving for this large population. My next question, coming on to Shakti Goel sir. Sir, Yatra, we all know Yatra for like 15-20 years. Yatra has, embedded in our lives from a travel perspective. And if we talk about travel and tourism industry in India, it is one of the third largest foreign earner for the country. And I do understand that around 1,000 plus D2E customers are being served by Yatra, including big tech giants and other firms. So what do you see that how Gen AI can transform the way travelers are interacting with the Yatra portal? What kind of user experiences, what I would say leading practices are being adopted so that the user experience enhances from itinerary planning to personalized recommendation, creating a truly, I would say, digital and immersive experience for the journey. We would like to understand your perspective on this, sir.
Sure, Sunny. That's a very relevant and an apt question. I'm like, given the way the industry is changing. And thanks a lot to ObserveNow for having me here. I can narrate two examples like that we have implemented in the travel industry. Yatra has B2C customers like you and I, retail customers. They have B2B customers like small travel agencies, and B2E, enterprise customers like E&Y itself, like for corporate travel. A lot of our customers are captive customers. What that means is they have to log into our portal and then do their work. So we are able to collect information regarding what they are searching, who is searching, when is it being searched, what time is it being searched for. That way we can identify the interest level of the booker, of the customer, let's say in a hotel. Now we can further track that through web analytics, clickstream analytics as to how deep into that hotel that person did the search. The person looked at the room type, the person looked at the facilities coming with it. And if the booker makes a booking of that hotel, we know that person was really interested in it. Now, how do I use this information? There are techniques like collaborative filtering, hierarchical recurrent neural network. I mean, the second one actually was proposed by Amazon. What it does is it basically associates one booker to another. It associates a booker to a product, in this case a hotel. Now, if I'm doing a search, if the booker is doing a search for Dubai, there can be more than 1,000 hotels. What are the top 20 hotels you are going to show on page 1, right? And here we use this technique gauged on the interest and the booking behavior and the search behavior, and we show the relevant hotels to the bookers. And what we found is that the bookings from the first page went up from 5% to almost 60 to 65%, because these make repeated bookings, and that enhances the user experience, and the system is saying that, look, I have read your mind, I know what you're looking for. The other example is like in the B2E industry, we have recently released a product that captures the expenses, right, of the travelers. Now, the expenses come with receipts. How do you do receipts analysis? You don't want the user to input the information. There is OCR technology, but OCR technology has become old. But here we can use vision analytics capabilities of the LLM models. For example, Google had a vision model which has now been deprecated, but what it does is we submit a receipt, right? Here, prompt engineering comes into play, and LLMs can be used in two ways. Their semantic power, meaning that they understand you like a human being, like the way you and I, I'm like interacting, you are interacting with LLM. The second is their content power. They are trained on so much data, so they know everything. So we submit a receipt and say, okay, what is the category of this receipt? Extract the relevant information, like the total amount, tax amount, all that information. And if it's a meal receipt, we ask if there's any alcohol in it, okay, right? When the alcohol was consumed. Now, there are like hundreds of thousands of brands of alcohol all over the world. For example, there is a brand called a Bucket of Gods, it's a beer. Dark Donkey, it's a wine, right? How in the world would you know that? Even if you wanted to maintain a repository of all the alcohol, it's not possible. But the LLMs are trained for it. So in 10 to 12 seconds, I'm able to analyze the receipt and I'm able to get all the information from it. Like in one go, in one prompt. And that is supremely amazing. That is another, that's the thing. I would like to also present another case where we have built bots which automatically respond to emails with data. So what it does is, a lot of our customers will send us flight inquiry. They want a ticket to Boston from Delhi. What are the options and all that? And we have to keep in mind that all the corporate travelers have to follow certain kind of policies as to what they can take, what they cannot take. All that is embedded in the system. Now, there are a few things. We get a lot of emails on the support, in our support portal. First of all, you have to identify what that intent of that email is. If it is flight inquiry, you go to the next step. You extract the relevant information, and that is what the LLM will do for you. Like, what's the arrival station, airport, departure airport, date of travel, pax count, class of travel, all that information is taken. Then, that amazing thing about LLM, especially with OpenAI LLMs, is that they can fire an API for you, right? This was not possible earlier. What it does is, based on something that has happened, you can say that now fire a search API, get me the results. The results come, you can summarize them and send them in an email. So earlier, it takes 30 to 40 minutes for a person to respond to an email. Now it takes less than 2 minutes. It used to take 3 to 4 hours before the response would go out. And the response would also be sketchy. Now it's very well formatted, right? So the experience that the end customer gets is amazing. So these are some of the ways I think the travel industry is changing both in B2C, B2B, and B2E world.
If I want to add a small, if I want to add a small content on top of it, I think APIs was the last mention you mentioned in terms of, I think agentic frameworks is the exact view which we are working on to build this for multiple travel industries, where you have multiple bots getting multiple information, and you have a one prime bot which is going to collect all of these and answer those in a single pane of glass. So I think that's a beautiful use case. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rohit sir. Thank you, Shakti sir. Coming on to our next panelist, Mr. Ankit Agarwal, who's the founder and CEO at Unstop. So Unstop is facilitating, providing the hiring platform for students, freshers, where the talent can meet the opportunities, right? What we can say, to me, it is acting as a runway where the talent can learn, upskill, demonstrate their skills and get hired. How do you see Gen AI reshaping the entire recruitment and talent management process, sir? How can platform like yours leverage Gen AI to enhance the candidates, the students' experience from their personalized assessments, I would say, AI-driven mentorship, or the guidance during the campus recruitment process, sir? We would like to understand your perspective on this.
Thank you so much, Sunny. I think first question I want to ask audience is, how many of you really wanted when you were studying what you're doing today? How many of you? Possibly 10% or lesser, right? I think this is the first aspect that Gen AI should change right at the cups of when we are studying. And I think that's what we are doing. So at Unstop today, we are closing about 20 million students in India who are studying across engineering, MBA, arts or so. Now imagine, and I'm sure that would be true for each one of you, right? It was true for me as well. The day one I walk into my engineering, MBA or maybe a DU college, I have no clue what needs to be done, correct? Many a times for 50% of us, we will still have no clue in our final years. So imagine, let's say, an engineer who is looking at product management roles, who is looking at software development, who is looking at maybe data scientist or MLAI. Through their interactions and interventions in the first year or two, can we give them those suggestions that we believe you are interested in these 4 areas? However, we believe that your proficiency in 2 of those areas is 8 on 10, hypothetically. And if you still want to do C, this is the path that you need to follow just to ensure that you are actually able to go up to that 8 to 9 so that you are able to go into that career trajectory in terms of the industry, company or the job profile that you need, right? So I think the first thing, even I think the resume or the opportunity matching comes much later. The first thing that we are hoping to solve for is that how do we ensure that we are able to channelize their thought process in the right direction, right? Once that's done, the second step is that when all the top recruiters hop onto the platform, so we have Amazon, Reliance, Flipkart, Tata's, Uber, Ola's, all of them hop onto the platform to engage with these 18 to 20 million students and democratize their hiring. Now that's very, very critical. When I say democratized, earlier many companies were going to only specific campuses, right? Now what they're saying is that, hey, this is the skill sets that we need, this is the proficiency that we need, irrespective, no matter which college you're from, if you clear the cutoff, we are happy to take you. Now, look at it from a different lens. What we identified through the AI models was that everybody was looking at the top talent. So everybody what used to do was that they used to go through the assessments. If they were to hire 10, if they have a interview to hire ratio of 5:1, they will select the top 50. Nobody generally looks internally to see what scores their internal team generally has, right? So then what we did, the mapping was that because for few of our clients, they were doing the same exercise over a period of 3 years, we could actually map the people whom you have hired 2 years back, which scores they were hired, how many of them are staying today with you, how many of them are doing exemplary in terms of internally, and then mapping that, boss, you need this skill sets. And you'll be surprised, we have got recommendations from those models that, boss, you don't have to hire 80% and plus. You won't be able to match aspirations both in terms of the growth and the monetary expectations of that particular talent. The product company who is paying, let's say, 20-25 lakhs for an engineer might be able to match the aspiration of a top talent. A services-based company who has the capacity to train them for maybe 3 to 6 months might be okay paying 10 to 12 lakhs and might be okay with a 70 to 80 percentiler because that person will stick with you. I think these are the analysis that we are able to get to match the relevant talent with the relevant opportunity. And for that, I think students should also, or the candidates will also be able to know as to where they stand today and which opportunities they are more likely to crack rather than all opportunities, right? Outside of this, I think the other mechanisms or the use cases that the AI has been used in resume screening, matching, I think those have been age old now. I'm sure many of you would have created AI friendly resumes so that they basically match all the keywords and all of that. I think those are aspects that's done. The second aspect, I think you talked about assessments. Now, what's happening in assessments is that we are now generating content using AI so that, see, I'll tell you, we just did 500,000 assessments in a matter of 48 hours for one single company, completely online, right? AI proctored and all. Now, the idea was that the question bank needs to be very, very robust and high. What we did was that we were adding every hour, we were adding new questions. Some of the questions might be AI generated, but who validates them? Because AI will make mistakes, right? So what we did was that the questions will be same, but the AI might be able to change certain variables. So that at least the variables are very, very different for maybe all candidates or some of the candidates. Second is that I think in coding aspects, if a person is writing a code, they can still use AI to write the code. I think we can't solve that problem. What we can solve for is everybody can identify whether this code is written by an AI or this email is written by an AI. So can we do reverse thing where we reverse check that AI, hey, did you generate this answer? I think those are simpler aspects that are being used, but more importantly, I think the models that we're developing is at a root level where we are helping them think through their career in a more better, efficient and a connected manner.
I'm sure that the platform which you are providing is definitely, when we talk about assessments, one of the key consideration that needs to be emphasized is with respect to the inclusivity and fairness in the entire process. And I'm sure the training of the LLMs are being done in that manner to address that particular issue.
Correct. So I'll tell you. So we have, and I'm sure most of you would have heard, AI interviewers, right? So we created AI avatar interviewer, our model completely, right? One, not rappers, but creating your models or so. Now, I was talking to one of the CHROs in an MNC and he basically point blank told me that, Ankit, if I use this tool or any tool, AI, which is either selecting or rejecting a candidate, I'll be sued in US.
Yeah.
Point blank, right? And why would that happen? Because of the training data that we are feeding in, right? So a POC that we did very, very recently, as recent as last month, for one of the client was that we recorded the videos of all the interviews that their interviewers were doing with the candidates for a particular role, right? That was analyzed by the AI model, what their interviewers are asking, what their interviewers are scoring, what parameters are they scoring on, all of that for maybe 100, 500 or so, and then only for that role that model becomes trained. So I think from that data perspective, we can't generalize it. It has to be very, very specific. And then possibly we just did it for maybe 500 interviewers. If we have to now do 5,000 AI interviews, now that accuracy might be 98 to 99%, but no model can be 100% right, in my opinion, at least in these domains per se.
Certainly, I totally agree with your perspective on this. And thank you very much for sharing deep insights around the particular topic. Now, moving on to our next speaker, Mr. Nitin Jain, who is the co-founder and chief business officer at OfBusiness. OfBusiness being providing a tech-enabled platform and facilitating the procurement processes for the raw material and extending financing credits to your customers in specific sectors like infrastructure or manufacturing. We would like to see from a B2B market perspective, how do you see that generative AI would be, impacting the customer engagement experience while they are interacting with your application? What sort of, I would say the recommendations being provided to them with respect to the procurement process, and what are according to their business needs?
Yeah, so thank you so much, Sunny. So we are a organization which does 20,000 odd crores of turnover, and we work with 1 million SMEs. And in the B2B space, in my opinion, it's the most difficult to actually get AI out to your customers and start interacting with your customers. I think B2C is slightly easier because the risk is lesser, right? So you got, let's say the TAM is much larger. So even if you lose, let's say 5% of your customers, it doesn't really matter. But in the B2B space, if the AI starts generating wrong answers or the AI is not engaging very well, even 5% of that number is a massive number, and then the revenue loss can be massive. So I think that is why B2B has not adopted AI as much, or they are more reluctant in adopting AI. So what we have done is that we selected a very small use case. So we didn't want to go all out, saying that everything will be done by AI, we will introduce AI in everything that we are doing. We did not want to do that. We wanted to select a very small use case. And what the small use case was that many of our customers were asking for prices of commodities on a daily basis. So they were saying, I want to know the price of steel in certain location, and they were asking in natural language. So we said that let's create a bot to actually supply this information on a real-time basis, a very small use case. And as you mentioned, Sunny, we drove engagement to the next level. Earlier, they were asking this by calling up my salesman and saying that, "Aaj ka bhav kya hai? Kitne rate mein de sakte ho?" And suddenly they were asking my app, or they were asking my AI bot. And we were able to engage on a much closer level, and the company was engaging, not the salesperson. So the client became closer to the company, because earlier, if the salesperson goes to a different organization, they take the client with them, right? So we wanted to eliminate that. We wanted the engagement to be with the company and not the salesperson, one. Second, and we wanted to give real-time answers that the salesperson may not have. The salesperson will say, "Sir, मैं पूछ के बताता हूँ कि rate क्या चल रहा है, मुझे भी नहीं पता है. आप आधा घंटा दीजिए." Here, the bot is almost on a real-time basis, and back-end, the data is being fed on a real-time basis as well. And it can be done in Marathi, English, Hindi, Bengali, Gujarati, whatever. So, this is what we did at the beginning, and then we moved on to the second use case. The second use case is that, how many of you do government contracts in this room? Yeah. So, government contracts, you would be searching various websites or, downloading tenders, trying to analyze ki kya tender, kya conditions hain of bidding, and is this relevant to you or not? We have eliminated all of that. We actually aggregate all our government tenders on one place. You can actually write over there that I need a 200 crore tender from NHAI to be done in Nasik, and it'll give you all the information. We made it as easy as just doing this. We've collated all the gem tenders and given it in one place, so that natural language mein आप पूछ सको सिस्टम के साथ एंड आपको सारी इंफॉर्मेशन मिल जाए. That is AI. Not necessarily generative AI, but AI to a certain extent generative AI as well, right? And so we have collated all this information and then we have deployed this. The engagement has gone through the roof, right? Earlier when we were doing a monthly new customer base of 100 per month, which in B2B is massive, suddenly with introduction of this tool we are doing 250. So 2.5 times the new customers have started coming to us just because we introduced AI, just because we were able to service large number of customers with lesser resources, just because we were able to give these additional services to our existing customers. So they felt much closer to the company. So you know, all of these activities we've done, but we started small. We didn't want to go all out कि यार सब कुछ ही AI करना है, सब कुछ AI से होना चाहिए, सारे sales लोगों को AI use करना चाहिए. No, we started small and then we started expanding slowly and steadily, and the ROI was massive for us, massive.
Thanks Nitin for sharing the clarity on this. Just wanted to cite one more use case from the government perspective because I'm focusing on government and public sector. See, now clients are looking forward to us, asking us like, can we use GenAI to prepare their standard bidding documents as well? So that, see, for organizations where infrastructure development is a standard process, they have to construct roads, they have to construct bridges. So they are looking to leverage GenAI kind of thing so that their engineers are not investing a lot of time in preparing those tender documents. Yeah, bidding documents.
We are
Thanks.
doing, sorry, your question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
No, we are doing a very good thing that's coming out in V2. We are doing exactly that. So we are helping you prepare the bidding documents by taking your details and inputting and giving you an indication. Obviously, it cannot be 100%, right? So if I go and give you that go and bid for 100 crores, this particular tender, right? And that turns out to be wrong, you will come and sue me.
Yeah, certainly.
We will only say that, listen, this is indicative. Please have a look. We've reduced 50% of your time, but 50% of the time you still have to spend. So it can never be 100% AI operated. Otherwise, humans ki to zarurat hi nahi hogi. It will be AI assisted, right? So if we say that AI is going to take over everything, completely wrong, right? It's going to be AI assisted, where AI is going to do the bulk of the grunt work. Grunt work मतलब prices लेके आना है, and then obviously आपको verify करने पड़ेंगे कि prices वगैरह ठीक हैं, सब कुछ भर दिया उसने, सारी random मतलब सारी details जो which is जिसमें दिमाग नहीं लगता, right? Like your name of the organization, the turnover of the organization, technical details which are factual. AI can fill that immediately. But you know, the non-factual stuff, it can assist you in saying that this is the indicative. Please use your own brain to supplement this.
Yeah,
you know, that's what we are doing.
Certainly, those disclaimers are very much required from the industry standpoint. And 60% of our time is going into drafting the initial tenders. Then the review process will definitely take time, and it will go through a workflow kind of engine, right?
So we are working with many large infrastructure companies to actually help them do exactly that and sift through government tenders and exactly specify that the risks also involved. So we are doing all of this. So that's coming in V2.
Yeah. So one is a bidding document creation, other is a bidding evaluation. So we are doing multiple use cases with customers where a government company takes 100 tenders in a month, and each tender is going to have 6 to 7 or 10 bidders. And how do you evaluate, right? So I think using GenAI to look at just a parameterization in terms of segregation, which clauses, what was the response, whether it meets it or not. Earlier a human used to read it. I think GenAI, as you rightly said, is assisting it to go and give you the view, and then human loop comes in picture.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, we would love to collaborate and see what can be done over there.
Sure, definitely.
Thank you. Thanks, Rohit. Thanks, Nitin. Moving on to our next panelist, Mr. Vipin Jain, who is the group CTO at CollegeDekho. So we all know about CollegeDekho. You are providing a bridge, a platform where students and academic institutions can, do a sort of integration. While if I talk about my college days, when I was in 10th and 12th, I was searching like how many applications I have to fill, what are academic institutions I have to research, like that. But definitely from your platform perspective, sir, would like to understand like how GenAI can revolutionize the entire education landscape. where I would say personalized student guidance, admission processes, and counseling can be done through the platform.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you, Sunny. So, just to give a sense of the scale or the reach of CollegeDekho, we did around 200 million user sessions last year, which is around 150 million uniques. So, fairly one of the largest college discovery platforms in the country. And we offer like full stack services, right from college discovery, when the student is figuring out which course, which degree, which city, to admission. Then finally, we also do learning and first job. So we offer a full stack of services. So it's not just the college discovery. But I'll talk about the college discovery process. And we cater to the tier 2, tier 3 segment of colleges, not the tier 1. And the students who come to, typically who come to these colleges are the first generation higher education seekers.
Yeah.
And like you rightly said, Gen AI can revolutionize every aspect of the student journey, right from discovery to learning to finding the first job, which Unstop is trying to tackle. So what we did is, the revolution over here is that Gen AI is now capable of giving you an interface which can talk to you like a human being. So for the first time, I mean, the technology has been sort of building for quite some time, but we are there now that we have a knowledge base which has been trained on large data, and you can actually talk to that database in human language. So if you look at students, they go to Google and they search BBA, BBA, MBA, these kind of search terms, right? So we are leapfrogging that search key term searching via search words to just talking to a website. So we built a product called Sarthi GPT we called it. And we trained all the college courses, exams, all the information on our website into a graph rag model, I mean just being technical here. And the students can now talk to the website instead of searching on Google and finding that information. So the time for the student is massively reduced. Like they don't have to consult 10 different websites, go to 10 different colleges. They can talk to that almost like a human-like person and get that information in the discovery phase.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks for sharing I would say, the functionalities or how the journey of a student can be enhanced through a platform. I know we are running short of time. I just wanted, as we are approaching to conclude this panel session, so I would like to request all of our eminent speakers to share a single idea in 2-3 words, which should or can be considered. Like we all know that during the India Mobile Congress 2024, Honorable Prime Minister has emphasized on creation of global standards for ethical AI and data privacy. Would like to understand a single idea in 2-3 words from each of the panelists, so that starting from you, sir.
Yeah. So I think what Gen AI has been able to achieve versus AI is not new. We have been looking at AI since, if my mathematics is correct, about close to about 1950s, right? So 1950s onwards, AI has started, and now we are Gen AI. Now the whole fundamental is the art of possibility has become a possibility right now using Gen AI. Now I will urge every one of you, if you have any problems or a use case which you want to go look at it, we can work with you. We are actually offering free pilots across our technologies or across open source technologies, open source models. You bring in a use case problem, we have a booth outside, we can come discuss, we can look at the problem, we can work with you on a free pilot, we can see what we can do together in terms of solving that problem. Right? So I think I'll summarize it. Art of possibility has increased multifolds. And that is where we can go and look at Gen AI to solve those problems much effectively as compared to a traditional AI.
Thank you.
I think one thing I want to emphasize on is a community on which all of startups, all of our ecosystems are built on, which is free and open source, right? I think talk about any of us, we're all built our systems on top of free and open source. And it would be really interesting to see how organizations contribute back to free and open source from an AI perspective. You know, opening up their data, opening up certain aspects of their intelligence that they have built over years, democratizing it across organizations, enabling people to access that data freely and openly, be able to train models using those data, be it geographical intelligence or surveillance. I think that is where we all need to focus on, and that will help us build the next chapter for the next decade or so.
Thank you.
So regarding, I mean, like in brief, regarding ethics, the Gen AI models and a lot of ML models, they're not trained on ethics. They don't understand the concept of ethics. So one thing that we can do is train these models on ethics. Tell them, you know, like when you're training them on data, tell them whether it's ethical or not.
For me, I think one golden rule, everything and anything cannot be done with Gen AI. There will be human, as Nitin was basically mentioning. Where we go wrong is when we start with the thesis that let's transform the company or our technology using Gen AI, and then we look at all the use cases. It should be smaller, and it should be looked from a solvability lens point of view.
Yeah, so my parting thoughts, closing thoughts are, pick up a very small problem that you want to solve. Don't try and solve for the world. It'll never happen. Pick up a very small problem. Get confidence that it is being adopted, right? Because spending millions of dollars or spending even hundreds of thousands of dollars is the resulting ROI not being achieved just because you want to show to the world that you are Gen AI compliant or Gen AI first is not going to do you any good. So start with using small. Get everyone to start using small in the organization, right? You don't have to go big bang. Like for example, in my organization, I've got everyone, all the sales guys to start using some form of either Perplexity or ChatGPT or related models. So I've given them a training. And all of them have seen the communication increase with respect to the clients. Because if you hire a person, let's say who you're paying a small amount, so he's not a very junior, he's not a very senior person, very junior person from college, you've hired him or her as a sales executive. You want the communication to be strong. And for the communication to be strong, they have to use some kind of these tools like Perplexity or ChatGPT to research about the organization as well as be very clear and concise. So, we've started solving all these problems. So we're not taking on the world. Everything about the client has to be automated. We don't want any salespeople. That will never ever happen. But can you get the communication to be top notch? Yes. Can you actually get any kind of manual task that was being done to be automated? Maybe not using Gen AI, but just through automation. Yes. So should be thinking about small problems that you can solve. And then only tackling the larger ones and not going for the world on day one.
Okay. So this world is full of systems. So you basically have, like for example over here, you have this, somebody is posting on Instagram, capturing this audio, video. So the thing which excites me is that all these systems were earlier connected using APIs. Yeah. That was the connecting link. So what we can do now is run our imagination and ask, what will happen if we connect one system to another using natural language interfaces? And that opens up huge number of possibilities. So for example, we don't need a human being to process what we are doing over here and post it on Instagram. And that is, we are connecting two different systems using Gen AI, the tissue interface, the natural language interface. And that applies to all kinds of systems. Like for example, if you have a sales floor and you have sales representatives, they can be now connected to the databases in the company. So all these knowledge bases, which are now not possible to connect them, we can now start connecting them. And that opens up infinite possibilities.
Thank you. Thanks all our distinguished panelists for sharing diversified perspectives coming across different industries. I would request all our audiences to have a big round of applause for our panelists.